Blessings, guys. Alex Angelo with you. Welcome to my channel and my page, and thanks for watching this video. So this video is going to be dedicated today to another part of our human behavioral pattern, which is called ego. What is ego, and how can our ego actually help us? So a lot of people nowadays thinking that ego is only the villain part of our personality, and the ego sometimes can cause us so many troubles and so many problems in our way achieving our goals, because it blinds us, because it doesn't let us take a healthy look at the situation and observe the situation intuitively. Yes, in a way, this is true, but at the same time, there's a very big purpose that ego carries, and today we're going to talk about that purpose of the ego. In fact, let me put it this way, it would be probably strange for a lot of you saying is that the ego is a necessary part of our life, and ego is actually created and being given to us by the higher powers to protect us as well as to help us to gain that level of confidence in ourselves. But ego is only helpful when it's in moderation, just like everything else on this earth. When the ego goes beyond the moderation, when the ego starts ruling the soul, when the ego blinds the soul and blinds our spiritual side, and starts dictating us what to do with our life, that's when the problems start. A lot of people nowadays are so obsessed with the material goods and with the financial situation that a lot of times their egos unfortunately blind them, and we can see that on daily basis. Purchasing those very different kind of expensive brands to look good. There's nothing actually bad in trying to look good, but at the same time, what bad is that is losing the spiritual aspects and losing the spiritual benefits of your inner soul, and substituting them with the materialistic, yet again temporary pleasure that the ego gives you. I can repeat it once again. Unfortunately, our ego is not capable of giving us that spiritual peace and spiritual serenity that we're looking for, but instead it can give us the feeling of a satisfaction over some sort of concrete situation that can actually create some sort of, I would say that, confusion, or the view of a confusion for us, trying to understand that, this satisfaction is going to be everlasting. But as we notice, for example, if you take a look at this, whenever we have goals to achieve, right, there are usually two emotions that we have. The first emotion is the drive to go and achieve those goals, and the second emotion is basically, or the second thing that can be kind of pushing us on achieving our goals, could also be our ego. So in this case, we can say that, okay, ego is helping us out to go and to have that drive and confidence to go and achieve our goal. But if those goals are mainly materialistic and mainly based on the ego, not on the spirit's desire, then as you notice, even the interest or the joy or satisfaction after achieving those goals do not unfortunately last long. We can bring example, for example, getting a new car, getting a new phone, getting a new clothes. Yes, it will give you some sort of satisfaction, but it doesn't last long. After some time, you get used to this, and your ego starts looking for other sources of self approval or the confidence. So that's what happens when we start giving too much of a space and too much of a preference to the materialistic world and materialistic things around us, this way neglecting the spirituality. So what does it actually eventually end up with? It ends up with symptoms like depression, anxiety, feeling of a lost, and being demotivated, because after all, after we are able to gain all our materialistic goals, at the end of the day, there is this little, the feeling of emptiness inside, and this emptiness can be related because we need some spiritual recharging as well. And unfortunately, that's usually being experienced in people who prefer to have all those materialistic and the worldly pleasures, and but at the end of the day, they still feel unhappy. Just like we have witnessed that in the lifestyle of a lot of Hollywood stars or a lot of celebrities. They gain the success, they gain the money, they gain the fame. Everybody loves them. They have everything on a materialistic level on this earth, but unfortunately, they still go for seeking for truth, seeking for the soul satisfaction, because when that emptiness comes inside, it comes with a very big feeling of hopelessness. So why is it happening? That is the question that we need to ask ourselves. And why do people get confused so much with the temptation of this materialistic world that we're so surrounded by, that we eventually neglect our spiritual side and given such a preference or priority to the materialistic world? But eventually what happens is that after we gain those materialistic goods, we usually start feeling the real hunger of the soul, and that's when we start looking for other more spiritual ways and methods of achieving this peace. So what is peace? In fact, the peace and the serenity is the alignment and the basically the balance of all three parts of ourselves. The first thing is our mind, our mental state, our soul, and our body. When we have all these three together in line, like in balance, then trust me, our life is going to be as perfect, as great, and no matter whether we're rich, whether we're poor, whether we're middle class, we will still find things to be happy and grateful for, because we have that balance between our body, our soul, and our mind. In case if there is no this kind of peace, and in case if our mind is away from our if our mind is away from our if our mind is away from our body, if our soul is kind of like detached from our mind or from our body, and basically there's no serenity and there's no peace in between these three, then of course whatever we do, unfortunately we are somehow going to experience some sort of discomfort, anxiety, depression, because there's no this alignment of the energies in one. And this is a very important part, because a lot of people go in and resort into therapists, psychologists, astrologers, psychics. They don't understand sometimes when they come to a professional or they tell expert of what's going on, and they cannot even explain it themselves. Some of them may be like, oh, my life is going pretty well, like I have financial situation and my business is going well, or my husband or my wife, I love him, but I don't know, there's a feeling of something is missing. And what's missing is basically that balance of those primal triad in us. So if we work on this, and one of the best and the first ways of working with this is to control the ego, is to learn to work with our ego. Because once our spirituality, and not only our mind but also our heart and soul, will come together creating this balance, then we will be in charge of our ego. Not our ego is going to be in charge of us. And when we're in charge of our ego, we can actually take an advantage and use it in our benefits in a healthier way to achieve our goals, and using it as a great source of a drive. But when unfortunately we get blinded by the energy of the ego, then everything in our life starts falling apart, because the energies basically start coming together in very big disharmony, and basically the absence of a harmony between those energies creates those obstacles and creates those problems. And usually the person is not aware of them and doesn't understand what's going on until the life keeps on sending the same kind of situations on his way, so that to teach him the lessons that this is something that you need to work on, and this is something that you need to change in order to be able to bring more of a peace and balance into your life. So in this case, what I wanted to say and what I wanted to emphasize is that ego is a very important part of our life, but we need to learn, our biggest purposes on this earth is to learn how to be spiritually grown up enough, spiritually mature enough, so that we can control our desires, our instincts, and our ego. The one who is learned, the one who has all the skills and who was able to achieve this kind of harmony between all these three energies of a mind, soul, and a body, trust me, those people are always going to find something positive and something really nice happening around them, because their vibrations are so high and they are basically now in charge of their own life, and they don't let the ego or any other negative emotions start dictating them. So this was like small video I wanted to make for you, my guys, like or for all my followers, for all my friends who were just trying to ask me about how can the ego be taken over, how can the ego trained, or if there is actually any benefit of the ego. There is definitely benefit of the ego, but this benefit can be experienced only when we gain the spiritual wisdom to achieve our goals. Stay well, guys, stay safe and sound, happy weekends, and talk to you soon. Bye.